Paintball nerd.
Today's guests on Paintball Nerd, we have the greatest of all time, Ryan Greenspan, and the founder of Iconic Paintball. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show, Ryan Greenspan and Quinn Nadu.
How's it going,
What's up, dude?
Hi, guys. How we doing?
Oh, just hanging out. Getting ready for an amazing, fun-filled, stressful family holiday coming up here.
Sure.
Yeah, I'm about the same, man. Spent my morning making pumpkin pies.
Multiple.
Oh, that's lovely. Several. Well, you can't just have one, right?
Excellent.
Sure.
Ryan, I read a rumor somewhere that you have a killer idea.
Dude, I'm actually only an idea guy. I've kind of come to realize that I've got a ton of great ideas and a lot of sketches in my and then I've got this little brainstorm column in my notes of like great ideas that are like revolutionary. So I mean, where do you start?
Well, can we see the notepad first? Can we see this notepad that you speak of?
So I've got my Spick and Span notepad, which has got all my stuff, which is fun because I dated, I put the episode and so I can go back and be like, oh yeah, you won on this, or we talked about this. For instance, February 7th, I just wrote the Spick and Span Show. So that's my notes from February 7th. But most of the time, we've got some extensive stuff here. But I actually have it on a digital notepad.
That's smart. You can search those.
I can search them. Exactly. No, actually, one of the things, just from a marketing standpoint, and I think that all three of us are I would consider us all in the marketing department of paintball, as well as the media department, and then myself as in also a player and an owner department. So I've got my hat on in a lot of different places, or my hand in a lot of cookie jars, I guess you'd say. Although I don't ever get any cookies out of there. So maybe that's not the right analogy on that one. Although we did just score 40,000 cookies there at the NXL World Cup last weekend.
Congratulations on that, by the way.
Thank you very much. Very, very much. So we're on a bit of a roll, which is great. But actually, one of the things that I think we can all agree on is as far as promotion for the sport, right? We're always trying to grow the sport. We're trying to figure out a way to get more eyes on things. And that's always been a something we talk about on the Spick and Span Show. We talk about it internally. What are we going to do? How do we do it? And one of the things that I've kind of realized in my illustrious career of holding up bogus blank checks that I don't find very, I'm kind of embarrassed about, to be completely honest.
What do you mean bogus blank checks? What does that mean?
Well, so you hold up so we win the biggest, we win, let's call it like when we won NXL Las Vegas and we get $8,000 or $12,000. Like that's a lot of money in paintball, but it's not an Instagrammable event outside of paintball. And this is kind of what I'm talking about is when you win a golf tournament and those guys, Happy Gilmore's holding up a $5 million check. You're like, damn, that's sick. And if you're holding up a $12,000 check and you're looking at every single guy up there, they're like, does everybody get 12 grand? Or do they have to split it between all 13 of those guys that are 15 people that are standing on stage, which is the reality, the harsh reality of it. Right. And so for those of you who are watching this thinking, there's going to be an illustrious career in paintball, there might be. And I hope that there is one day a new path that both the NXL or whomever is spearheading this has there. But that's also one of the reasons why I end up wearing so many hats is because I have to be able to find revenue streams that will help support this obsession of mine and this career of mine. But what I was getting at is in an effort to grow paintball, you need to create these Instagrammable events, these social media events that transcend our own digital footprint. Okay. So when I post something on social media about me winning a golden barrel and there's a check for $500, I kind of want to put the check for $500 in like on the ground and just say that I won the golden barrel, because that is actually sounds cooler than winning $500. It's like when I have to tell I don't even have to tell, but when my friends, they're like, damn, you won like MVP of everything. Like, what do you get? I'm like, well, I get this barrel. That's pretty cool. And then I get $500 and they're like, huh, like that doesn't even cover your plane ticket out there. Like,
and bragging rights.
Shout out to it is bragging rights. And I'm not exactly complaining that myself I haven't been able to get enough out of this, but in the future, for people that want to be able to, like, we've got people that are watching this, they're in their 20s. We got people in their mid-20s or even their teens that are like, I want to do this for a living. What can I do? And it's like one of the highest prizes. And shout out to Pate Smith. He was on the show last night and hooking up Marcelo. Like, that was fantastic. Like move of the event, sure. $5,000. That's what I'm talking about. That's what we need to have. That is something that's really cool. And then Hormesis, especially the $10,000 that Tommy won, epic, right? That's incredible. The car that I won when I was a kid, amazing. Like, those are moments that you can look out on, and it'll go past the bubble of paintball, and it also helps legitimize it for the parents out there. I think when my mom decided that it was okay for me to play paintball was when I won a car, right? She's like, okay, I can get behind this. I get it. Yeah. So what I was getting at, and I know this is a really long-winded explanation and answer, is we need something that makes every time that you go up on stage or every time that you win just a little bit cooler, right?
More expensive.
Yeah, a little bit more expensive. And if it's not going to be an extra $20,000 under the prize purse, you can do it other ways. And I think Hormesis has captured this really well, is like the guerrilla marketing aspect of it. And even Pate did the same thing. It's like, at first he was putting up $500. Like, his $500 went further than everybody else's sponsorship, because it's like they were talking about it. Hormesis went out and Tigerware does it at the local WCPPL events, but they go out there and they're like, all right, who's going to win the Hormesis? Who's the coach's MVP? Right. And they get a Hormesis headband. And then the carbon golden barrel is like the next pinnacle above that, where Maddie gives and Carbon gives that golden barrel. And then, so they're creating these moments that are like a little bit better captured and shown in time for media purposes, because that's kind of what we talk about a little bit more. It's like, that's the golden barrel guy, or that's what I got. You got these plaques sitting up on the wall. Those are cool moments. Right. So when Hormesis was going to do when Oliver's like, we're giving $5,000, they thankfully skirted away from this one. But for the All-Star game, MVP of the All-Star game was going to get $5,000. And I was like, look, give him $5,000, but this is how we're going to do it. And I said, but it's not me. It's like, this is how you guys are going to do it. At World Cup, first thing you're going to do is you're going to go to Home Depot. Okay. You're going to buy a wheelbarrow. Second thing you're going to do is you're going to go to the bank and you get $5,000 bills. You're going to fill that wheelbarrow up. And when that person wins, you're going to wheelbarrow $5,000 worth of cash up to somebody. Or wheelbarrow might be a little too much, but like a backpack full of cash. Because again, you want to create something. It's like, how many eyes will that get? If you give someone a check for $5,000, they're like, this is cool. And it's like, here's my little check. Like when Alex actually handed Tommy Greenleaf the little check, but you want to create these encounters and these interactions that are going to be more Instagrammable, more social media eyes on there. And unfortunately, like a novelty checks of, a couple $1,000 split between a handful of people just isn't going to do it. That's going to really get your local group, the people at your field, they're going to be excited about that. But nobody outside of your sphere of influence is really going to care too much about that. And that's what I think we need to tackle.
So not necessarily more expensive, but more showmanship in the prizes. Like
exactly. Hey, so I follow I follow pro surfing pretty closely, and they're major. Like they have a major series, right? The champion series, and then they've got a challenger series. So like they've got all these things going on, right? Events everywhere. I think the main series has like 17 events over across the world. Every single place that they go to, and this used to be the case over in Europe, which I loved. Every single event that they go to has a title sponsor, right? And every single event that has its own very cool, elaborate trophy that is specific to that region, that event. And it has something like tangible that you can hold that's like a little cooler than these. I mean, I don't even have any other ones, but like some of these trophies they're just lousy, man.
Spend more money on the trophies.
Yes, that's all you got to do. And I think, you could brand it really well. And my, pitch to Tom has been and is going to be that each event, and you can open this to the platinum sponsors first, each event should have a title sponsor. Back in the day, remember, it used to be the Die Open, the World Cup presented by whoever. And this event was here and this event was there. And that's the title sponsor owned that event. And I think it's fair for at least the top 5 platinum sponsors, or everybody can bid an extra couple of grand on it, to have it say that this event 1's the Planet Eclipse Open, event 2 is the HK Army Open, the Hormesis Cup, the Lone Star Open presented by GI Sports. And
it's kind of a good thought if you think about it, just because, say whatever, you're a platinum sponsor, they're like, what, $50,000, $60,000 for the year, something with NXL. Like, imagine instead of spreading that out as like a 5-event blanket sponsor, it's like, hey, I'm going to put all 50 of mine into just event 1, and all that's going to go towards players, prize packages, everything. And then, like, say Infamous or Dire just owns that event in terms of like the marketing, everything, to really give them like that huge punch, instead of like, oh, we'll kind of spread it out over 5. It's like you just dominate this one with your marketing.
Right. And that's kind of the idea, right? And you'd have a little bit more branding at each event, and you'd own and here's the thing, is it creates competition. And this is what it used to be like in Europe. I think that this trophy right here that I have is a portion of a European Cup. I have all of the trophies that I've kept over the years. They're all in storage. But we would go to Germany, and the cup is like 4 feet tall. And then you go to Europe or France, and there's another huge one. Portugal had its own. And so everybody was actually ended up competing against each other. So say the 3 of us all on our brand, we've got the Paintball Nerd, we've got the Iconic, and then we've got the Spick and Span event, right? Paintball Nerd comes out with that cool little goggle. Yours looks like a logo trophy. And then I come out with the Spick and Span one, when everybody gets these cool little medals. And then Quinn's like, I'm going over the top of both of you guys. I'm getting this, and it's up to you, right? You have to put in a minimum of X amount of dollars, and every first place prize across the entire board gets this really cool Iconic trophy. And then at the next event, they get a cool Spick and Span trophy. And then the next event, and you're going to say, eventually, everybody's going to go, well, Spick and Span Show really cut some corners on this one. That one wasn't very cool. And damn, Iconic is actually dope. That was a sick trophy. And everybody
that guy doesn't suck, actually.
That guy actually doesn't suck, right? It's actually the Spick and Span guys that are the real schmucks. But what it does is it creates, and then everybody, and you get like say the trophy is minimum XYZ, like, and on the plaque it'll say on there Spick and Span Show, right? This is the cup. And so it doesn't matter who wins, right? If you're not sponsored by Planet Eclipse, if we win World Cup and that was the Planet Eclipse Open, there's still a Planet Eclipse logo on our trophy, and they own that right. And that's part of the deal, right? And that's their little bit. So everybody gets an opportunity to be up there on the stage, and then everybody gets to see how cool each thing could be. And there's a little bit of competition on that side of things. And I think that would really ramp things up if there was just, the Lone Star Open could have like a cool cattle brand, the Vegas one could be like these cool little slot machine trophies that, like, it's just something that's new, and it'll create a social media buzz that I believe that might just pop a little bit outside of that sphere of influence for each person.
Yeah, you're having the sponsors compete against each other as far as who can give the coolest trophy, and that creates competition, and that creates everyone stepping up. That means cooler prizes, and that means cooler moments on social media.
That's it.
So I love it. Let's see if Tom bites it. Ryan, you were talking about all the hats that you wear, and as you were doing so, I was thinking, what would be cool if Ryan Greenspan shared with everyone how he actually makes a living playing paintball, because it's not just from tournaments, right?
It's actually, yeah. Well, yeah. So obviously, like, one of the things that we started with the most was, selling jerseys and merch and stuff like that. Clinics is probably the number one. I can tell you exactly how many clinics I did this year, but I do quite a few clinics and coaching gigs. And that's like a big bit of the bread there that I make. Spick and Span Show isn't a whole lot. It's actually just kind of a fun thing to do. It doesn't take up a whole lot of our time. And it kind of fills a little bit of a need in paintball that obviously you guys both agree on and are contributors to, as far as like just kind of creating content and having fun. I think that's one of the biggest things, is having fun with it. But yeah, selling merch, playing on Dynasty is not very lucrative, unfortunately. Dynasty is like not the richest team in the league by far. But
what do you mean? Everyone tells me you guys have like millions of dollars sitting around.
Millions of dollars. We have made millions of dollars. We have received millions of dollars. But our dinner bill this year, our dinner bill alone, winning 3 events, was over $10,000. Closer.
That's your fault.
15.
There's
It
McDonald's.
is our fault, actually. It is. So
yeah, I know that one event last
sushi.
year, I missed my flight. You paid for like a $300 meal for me just for no reason.
Yeah, see?
You guys just rack them up.
Ryan drives a Tesla.
I do, but you get government subsidies. And can I put a referral link in here?
No.
That's another way how I earn some money is endorsements. I used to do those quite a bit, not as much anymore.
Wait. Okay. You don't make money from Spick and Span Show?
We do. Oh yeah.
Oh,
absolutely.
Okay.
We don't
like
make
most of your money, right?
No.
Oh.
No.
Quinn, do you make a lot of money from Iconic?
I go like easily negative 5 figures every year on it.
So why are we all doing this?
Honestly, like the biggest reason I do it is because I can just remember when I was a kid, there was so much cool stuff with media between like getting to go see physical magazines. Like you go to events and there was like photographers, videographers, network TV guys, just everything. It was this cool, huge like media package. And I guess kind of when I started doing this again, like in 2019-ish, I was like, I just want to make stuff that like, even if one person sees it and reads it and it brings them that same sort of like moment I had as a kid where I was like just so bought into this sport because of the media side of it, then like I was mission successful with what I do. And that's honestly the only reason I do it. I mean, there's a lot of times that I just like, I hate this. Absolutely. When I'm writing something, I'm just like, man, I do not want to do this right now. But honestly, it's just, I always look at like, I just want to create content so that someone else can see this and think like, wow, it's so cool that we have X, or it's so cool that we have Zyzek show doing voiceovers, or Ryan's show, you know, with his trash can camera doing God knows what every Tuesday night. Like it's just those cool experiences in media is the reasons I do it mostly.
Camera's better now.
Why do you do it, Ryan? I mean, you don't need to do the Spick and Span Show.
No, you're right. So we started the Spick and Span Show just kind of as a BKI thing to kind of keep busy during the downtime of COVID. You know, that's a great question. I enjoy it. You know, it's a thing to like kind of stay relevant. I think one of the things that's really important in this sport, and then that players and people will understand or begin to understand, is like when you get on that grind, if you get complacent, right? If you get complacent and you just think that like everything will just be easily taken care of, I think that's something that a lot of players and people in the industry already do, right? Is complacency. It's just like, I'm comfortable in this lane, right? But if you stay busy and keep your finger, I don't even want to say that my finger's on the pulse, honestly. It's not like we do it's a whole lot of research and stuff and trying to figure out what we're going to talk about. We talk about it right before the show, whatever's kind of topic is going on, and we'll just doing some things kind of naturally as they come, right? But I do it because it's fun, and I feel like, man, I owe a lot to paintball. I owe a lot to the fans and everybody who's here. That's one of the reasons I still do clinics. I've got a kid at home that does not like me leaving as much as I leave. There's a lot of reasons why I do a lot of the things in this industry, and it's because I love it. But it's easy for me, like from a personality standpoint, to kind of get behind the camera and talk to everybody. And I think that it's a fun thing to do, and I enjoy it. I think that not everybody enjoys it. And just as Quinn's point too, man, we all read magazines. I'm surprised there were even, I forgot that there was even media before the internet popped around like it did. I didn't think that you were the first to media there.
No, I was the first one ever to do it, actually.
Yeah. I was I believe that, I can stand by saying that the Spick and Span Show, the accolades that I have made up completely 100% are also 100% true,
And they're 100% first.
They are.
What do you mean the accolades you've made up?
Well, we're the very first. Let me see if I can string this pretty intense Guinness Book of World Records that I might have to go for. We are the first paintball talk show to be live 4 p.m. on Tuesday every week.
It's an incredible
That
accomplishment.
also by default makes us the #1
The best.
live show and the best. The best and the greatest. So we're both the boat and the goat of live paintball, shows. And that's undisputable. It's just
Congratulations, dude.
Thank
How do we
you.
celebrate this
I
moment?
actually have a trophy right here. Quinn actually sent this trophy to me, specifically because the Spick Span Show is the #1 best show in paintball that's live and 4 p.m. on Tuesday. So
What do you
that's
guys
one
think?
of the things. Yeah. That keeps us
You
going.
got something to say, Ryan? You got something to say?
No, that's it.
Okay. Well, I was going to ask, like, what do you guys think motivates other media people? Because I don't know if we have all the same motivations. The clicks, status.
Honestly, a lot of people are motivated by the clicks these days. I mean, you can walk around an event and talk to 15 photographers and find out pretty quickly who's there because they love to take photos of paintball and who's there because they're trying to build a portfolio and, get clicks and views. I mean, obviously there's nothing wrong with that. You got to sustain a hobby and even turn it into a business. You obviously have to make something out of it. Not everyone could just, burn money at it endlessly, but there's absolutely people out there that, especially on just, I would say the more like written created media side, not necessarily video, photo, that pretty much seem like they exclusively do it for the clicks and the kind of egocentric attitude that surrounds that.
Yeah, I mean, certainly right now, especially in your infancy, like clicks. So you've got it's the what is it, the Pavlov's dog kind of thing where like you need something in response to what your work is you're putting out. You need like there's got to be a return. There's like, I'm giving, what am I getting? I'm giving, what am I giving? So it's either monetary, and this could be whatever you're receiving out of this could be multiple things, right? Obviously for the most part, it's not very monetary until it is. And how are you going to get there first? Well, I need adoration. I need the same reason why there's likes on our social media page, and which is why it's also like scientifically proven to be a detriment to your mental health by just having to be like, refresh. Am I getting enough likes on this? Is this working? Is this gaining traction? Right? This is a huge problem with the youth in the nation as well as us. Right? I can say that I am also have been a victim of this. I don't really care about it as much anymore, but you're like, why isn't this one getting as many views? Did I not post it at the right time? Is the music not right? Do people not like me anymore? What's going on? What are my comments? So there is most certainly, I mean, every single internet company that's worth, $1 billion knows what they're doing to us and how to manipulate us. And our psyche immediately wants to get the adoration. I'm hoping, and we talked about this, like, what's the traction going to be on this one? Right. And eventually, once the traction starts to move, people are going to go, hey, I want to sponsor that. Can I put this type of shirt on you? You know what I mean? Zyzek, if I were that hat company, because I know I see you love it, the melon hats, you need to get a sponsorship. You need to get a deal with them. You're rocking that. You asked them. What'd they say?
They denied me.
Well, wait.
I heard they said you were they said you were too good looking. They didn't want you to
thank you.
You just wait. You just wait until this episode blows up and blows up. But
blow up. We got to get to something interesting, right?
Well, and this is interesting, right? This is interesting. This is interesting to a lot of people because it affects everybody, right? And there's a lot of people that want to do media. And I want to say a big hats off and shout out to two other creators, which is Ronnie Dizon for sticking with the blog thing. I've done vlogs. That shit is hard. It is so time consuming, and there's very little reward on that because it takes a long time. Now he's gotten really good at it, and so he strings it along. Anybody who does the vlogging side of things, Mark, he tried it for a little while. Matt, the Gym Rap does a good job with it. But man, those are tough to do. The live, like, let's just ask some questions and bang it out, no edits. So much easier to do. So give those types of guys more credit, more follows, more everything. But you need to hit internet gold. You need to like kick someone in the nuts or have a horse kick him in the nuts or something like that.
So there's people that go after views, right? And so they want to get sponsorships and stuff like that. Ryan, yes. What about the people that want to see the world burn? Like people that post things that are not going to attract sponsorship dollars, but they're going to stir the pot. They're going to create conflict and they're going to get likes and views that way.
Well, that's an interesting one also, right? That's like, and that is something, and it's not new. Obviously, people have been doing that since the dawn of time, but it's the same kind of idea. You're getting a reaction that is then giving you some sort of emotional response as a result of the hornet's nest that is kind of kicked up. It's kind of like when I was a kid in middle school, there was like out in the field, there were a bunch of hornet's nests out there. And as like a fun recess thing, we'd go stomp on them and run, right? Try not to get stung. Yes, very smart. We didn't always have the brains, right? Or did I? And if someone else gets stung as a result of that, that's kind of funny. It was. It is. Right? It is.
Yeah.
And so it's the same kind of idea. We're doing something and like there's this rush and this exhilaration. And to put it from a media standpoint, that's like something that's this concept of just throwing shit at the wall and hoping stuff sticks and not really caring about the ramifications or the truth, perhaps, has been something that's like really taken an exponential increase over the past couple of years, especially over the last couple of years. And I think it's because people start to harness the power of the internet and understanding that, again, clicks equal emotional response, right?
Who does this?
I'm getting a dopamine or serotonin release as a result of it. You know what I mean? And it's what's funny to me is like, I guess if you're a big news organization, if you're MSNBC, Al Jazeera, CNN, Fox News, being the first one to report on like some political thing or like some explosion somewhere or some robbery in your local area, that's like important news that I guess is cool to break first. But like people haggling over like credibility on who broke the news on the new CS3 or the new force body is kind of laughable, in my opinion.
Who's done that?
I think a lot of people.
Guy you had on yesterday or the day before.
He argued about the CS3.
I don't know. I'm just throwing hypothetical situations and scenarios out. I
wouldn't say explicitly, but
Ryan.
Look, I don't follow unless someone screenshots and shares something of him who has been like trashing my name on his social media sites. I don't follow him.
Scotty.
So I don't.
Scotty trashes you, Ryan?
He has. Yeah. People post story clips of him posting things on his social media just randomly. He apparently says some stuff to people that I know, specifically about me and about me being unfair to him. Doesn't mention anything really to me, but again, that's not the topic. I think that a lot of people, or not a lot, but some people I have seen have issues with when stories break and they broke it first, allegedly, or they want the credit. And it's like, when you kind of break a story that's not public, then you want credit for it. And then the other thing is like, you know, when you're going to throw a bunch of news out, and then it's great to keep your sources, but if the news isn't real, then your sources are lying to you. That's one of the qualms I have too, is like, if people aren't giving you the real info and you're just throwing info out, yeah, I don't know.
But what about
like
the tabloid aspect of it? Like, is there value in fake news? Is there value in stirring the pot with something that's not real?
No, and everyone that says it, I cannot stand it when you hear people say like, oh, you need the TMZ or you need this. Like, I'm just a huge proponent of like, no, you do not. Like, I think if you want to say, I want to be a journalist or a writer or do like expose videos or, you know, anything of the sort, like it's called investigative journalism, not selective journalism. Yeah. You don't select the things that fit your narrative and then ignore everything else around it or block the things that, you know, negate your stance. Because even if you're talking that, like, I mean, we're bringing up Scotty now, and I know you kind of touched on your show a little bit. We're talking about people that rush news. And I always think it's important. You have kind of like these two branches when you write or break news or anything. And one side of that is, you know, truly just telling the romance of a story as it unfolds. And then the other side of that is exposing truths and the exposition of truth to the benefit of the industry or just the people as a whole. That sometimes means there is going to be things that are negative that come out, but there's a balance to that, right? You can't just come out with a story never talk to the other side that you're pulling out in this story and then just assume that's okay. Like, it doesn't work that way in the real world of news, but it works that way in this world of news because there's no one out there with a bankroll that's willing to sue people when, they say wrongful things about them. I mean, you guys talked when Scotty was on about the whole thing about Dynasty moving to JT and away from HK. That's like a huge thing for the industry as a whole. And that's something that, like, you essentially have the biggest company in paintball by a mile getting ready to roll out a big marketing campaign centered around this big moment of bringing Dynasty into their camp. Who did that benefit by leaking that a day or two early? Anyone? No, it just has the guys at GI look at their marketing team and say, we just wasted 3 weeks of work for this rollout. Let's not do this or make this mistake again. And then every year you get less and less fanfare from these companies with their rollouts to the point that it's just, they don't care anymore to a sense. And I think I was always I was definitely guilty of that, like my first year or two doing it. And I honestly got to a point, I'm just like, man, this shit is just exhausting. Like, I don't care about if this news is out. It's not interesting to me. And that's kind of why I even made a post like a week or two ago. I'm like, hey, I'm still going to do like my tracker this off season. So people have like a centralized place to follow news and what's going on. But like, I'm not making it a point to like call around to 50 or 100 pros every single week, figuring out what they're doing or what companies are releasing this, just because to me, for the sport, it's just not really that interesting. Like, yeah, it gets some clicks and views, but like, does it benefit anyone if player X is going to make a huge move? Someone leaks that early when it's potentially not done yet, and then it blows up in their face and that hurts their payday. Like, it's already so hard to make money in this sport. We don't need people leaking stuff or taking bits and pieces. Because I kind of had this problem with another creator for a while where it was just a bang, bang type of thing. Like, they got a message, they're putting the story up. Doesn't matter who it came from, if it has firsthand, connection to the source at all. Vince did that forever the first year. He would put stuff out and then, redact it.
He was a little fast to put a lot of stuff out, and then he would just post a redaction. And that definitely, again, Quinn, sorry for taking
No, jump in.
I do remember that, right? When Vince was posting like this is happening, and then like the next week he'd be like, I'm sorry, or the next day it's like, I'm sorry, I don't know where the person was saying, like it's not true. It's like that sort of stuff, man. The clicks aren't worth enough to ruin your credibility, in my opinion, right? We've said some things like the other week where like allegedly someone told us that maybe there's gonna be a pro spot, and I could see maybe possibly because Revo and NRG might merge because both of them might lose players. We could see them merging. And if that's the case, maybe NRG spots for sale. Like, that is a talking point. But if you just want to like throw it up and us just say like, because we're so like, we want the click so badly that on a random Thursday, we posted on our Instagram, like this is for sure happening. Like that, it's not worth it. It's just, even if we were right, what was the point? You know what I mean? Like,
I mean, that's always where I kind of found myself in. That's what made me stop doing it completely. Because again, I used to do this all the time. I look at the way I did it a little differently because 99% of the time I was just talking directly to the person that was making the move. Like if Tyler was talking about making a move, I'm talking to him. If, Kyle's talking about making a move, I just text him and ask him. Like, it's that simple. And I think a lot of it is people just trying to jump the gun without building the network of credibility to necessarily do it. And then the other half of that too, really is just kind of like what Scotty does essentially. I mean, he just puts it out there and he doesn't even care to put a redaction out or anything. Like he'll just keep buying into it, even when it's so clearly not going to happen, or he'll have some justification of this person told him. So that's why he still was right, even though, the company might've came out and said you're wrong or whatever. I mean, even yesterday or a day and a half ago or so, when you put the clip up, like he spent, I don't know, 3 or 4 minutes talking about me. And I very rarely engage people when they say negative things about me, because to be honest, I just don't really care. Like, this is a hobby to me purely. I do it because I like writing about paintball, and that's about where it ends. I don't have any the lizard people, crazy conspiracies of who I am or am not involved with or anything. I mean, even yesterday, just randomly throwing out saying, oh, he paid NXL for fan wagon for access to this or this. I mean, it's nonsense. There's 4 people on earth that know what happened with the fan mag deal. It's myself, the 2 partners I bought it with, and the person we bought it from. And none of those people have a connection to the NXL. And it's just, he just throws out random numbers and says it might be this, maybe this. And the problem that I personally have with that is now you're creating a narrative for someone based on zero fact whatsoever. And I always think it's funny, especially when people go, oh, I have a source or receipts on this. Like, I'm going to tell you right now, I have siblings that don't even know where I live. I know for sure I'm not talking to some random D5 player in, New Mexico about my business plans within paintball. Like, that's my own business. Like, you talk about something like my fan wagon. It's simple. I bought it for one reason, because we wanted to preserve the data, because there was 12 years of basically stats and data sitting there that were going to go away if somebody didn't pay for it. And B, the hope that we can one day bring it back in a way that is actually sustainable for the long term. But it's, I don't really understand the thing of saying, oh, like NXL had some involvement. They never did from the start to the end. Because I've said it already before. If it was as easy to get in the NXL, just writing a check, I would have done it 4 or 5 years ago and not put in hundreds and thousands of hours of work building my brand that I have done this with Iconic. And it's just, I think it just plays into what Ryan was, touching on as well. It's just this thing of like the rush to put stuff out and get clicks for some of these people just always supersedes like the truth and reality of these situations. It's especially funny to me with Scotty. Like, he has this relentless beef with me and issue with me to the point that he just blocks me on everything. And I truly cannot understand. There's not like that tipping point moment where I'm like, oh, that's why, like, I said this, or I was an asshole to him about this, or whatever. Like, this guy started making content in like 2006, 2007. I was like 12, 13 years old. I was watching it the whole time. I've watched almost everything he's put out from 12 years old till now, 17 years later. Like, I think a lot of the stuff he does, especially on his YouTube, is interesting to me and compelling. And is some truth in that. But I think what's also important too, especially for someone like him that he can't seem to understand, is you don't hang your hat on 50% of the time I'm right 100%. Like, you have to hang your hat on 100% of the time I'm as truthful as I can be. And I just really don't get it. I feel like even his beef with me is more of a click thing than anything, because it gives him a talking point from time to time to basically say, like, fuck that guy, and, have something to kind of rant on and go on, because I think he needs that motivation to say, like, I have to fight these wars for whatever reason.
And yeah, I think I personally say it, and this is actually funny because I had that was really well said, Quinn. I have a problem with not consuming any paintball content.
Yeah.
Zyzek, I watch some of your stuff, but it's kind of in the background, and I don't know if I just don't. I have time, but I don't at the same time. Even
you're creating, so it's like what? Like, it's hard for you to consume something that you're also creating.
Yeah, but it's also, I don't know. I do have this problem, and I want to tip my hat to Alex. Alex Fragi listens and watches to everything, and that guy is busier than anybody that I know. He's got so much stuff on his plate. So hats off to him. But I'll watch and maybe it's my attention span also, but I'll watch the short clips, and I'm like, oh, that's cool. I'm that type of person, right? And this is kind of plays into what I said earlier, and this is also part of what Quinn was saying. Is just one of those things is it is a problem with our mental ability to have and to create any kind of relationship, right? So there's the problem with not having a relationship with the content which you're creating. So not talking to any of the pros or any of the other media people or Tom Cole before you release a story about that person. That's important, right? Or doing something so quick because you need to have the clicks, right? I need to have this. Or mine, which I don't have the attention span to sit there and listen to while I do find a lot of the stuff that PTG puts out very informative and educational, and it's really good deep dives. But I also don't listen to any other podcasts. I barely even listen to music. I listen to the 5-minute news recap every morning when I drive Sloan to school and back. Other than that, I don't have anything playing. It's weird. I
can't listen to the news while you're surfing, man.
Yeah, well, I don't have headphones while I'm surfing, right? I'm just out there. I need to shut things off. Maybe I have too much stuff going on in my mind all the time. So what I'm getting at is unfortunately, I don't consume enough or very much at all paintball content, right? And with that being said, I've never even seen Will Ball for Soup's page. I've only gotten secondhand. Well, that's not true. I've been on it once or twice because someone was like, there's a funny video on it of some kid getting shot in the head or something. And so I've seen it, but I don't watch it well enough to comment on it, which is why I don't really comment on it aside from him commenting on me. And the beef that he has with me, and I'm not even going to say I have beef with him. The only reason I'm what the fuck, is because I get messages from people when he just randomly gets mad at me, or when he messages me asking these elaborate questions and trying to like bait me into saying something and then redacts a lot of the messages, clips them together, and then posts them on his story. I find that kind of odd. But there was a point when I had Tom Cole on about 100 episodes ago on the Spick and Span show, some holiday show. And he had mentioned something about him releasing a story about Tom and the NXL without asking Tom any of like questions. He just kind of rushed the media there. And Tom's like, it was kind of crazy. He just kind of like, it seems like all he cares about is what we're talking about, fame and clicks. But he just kind of wants the drama. And I was like, yeah, I don't know him well enough. And then we like in this kind of back and forth thing, I said, I think he's one of those guys that might think, I don't know exactly what I said, but there is a transcript online about it. But it was like, maybe you're a lizard alien, Tom. And then Kyle was like, yeah, you might still think but Jackson's alive, like in jest. And then he took that so personally and was like so angry about it. It wasn't like there was a definitive thing where we said, this is the type of person, or like, he is this guy. So I apologize for that, but it took me a while to figure it out, because he had me believing that I actually was like saying bad things about him. And I was like, man, I don't believe that I did that. In all my messages to him too, I was like, hey man, I really apologize. I don't recall saying anything specifically bad about you. But he doesn't take the apology part. It just kind of keeps harping on this negativity. So I truly am sorry if I offended him. That was not my intention. It was just kind of one of those things like on the show when we're just rambling about stuff. And it wasn't anything that was like a meaningful conversation specifically. And I think we spent all of like 15 seconds talking in anecdotal joking about who knows what. So anyway, there's transcripts about it. It's on, I think, episode 117 of the Spick and Span show. If anybody wants to get another couple views. But I look back on it again. I had to like scrape the internet for a long time, because I was like, I don't believe that I don't intentionally go out to harm people at all. That's not my MO. That's not something that I'm like trying to do. Because again, I don't care too much about the clicks anymore. I think I've gotten over that hump in my life of please follow me and please this and that. And with that being said, I'm not like trying to rush stuff to the news. Again, that's why we tiptoe around with allegedly. This is maybe what happened. But on top of all that, it's one of those things where if like, I don't believe that our Spick and Span show offends too many people.
Offends Alex every day.
I know Alex is upset every morning he wakes up knowing that the Spick and Span show is in existence. And that they might, especially on Tuesdays, that we might actually call him. I do know he's upset about that.
I'm upset at the Spick and Span show right now.
Yeah. Okay. Let's hear it. File your grievances.
Well, dude, our department. So, you should know, your father. So when someone says, hey, we're going to be on from 4 to 6 and you have two kids running around, it's hard to carve out that 2 hours. So,
yes.
I'm sitting there like, hey, I'm going to pour myself some whiskey. They're drinking on the show. And my whiskey is just getting lower and lower and lower. And you're still not calling me. And it's like an hour and 45 minutes into the show. And then you say, hey, I don't think we're going to be able to get Zyzek on. And, so I just
so what I'm seeing here? What I'm seeing here is you're welcome for allowing you to enjoy a nice, tall, heavy hand pour of whiskey, which had you just drank a little glass in the beginning, you would have been done with and not have been able to get your buzz on a Tuesday night.
That's true. Thank you. Also, thank you, Ryan.
Speaking of being buzzed, I also wasn't expecting Pate to be as entertaining as he was, as talkative as he was. And that was like a last minute addition to the show. So by default, like I thought he was going to be on, like normally when we have people we don't really know on, it's kind of like, we got to get him off because he's not really good at talking and being on camera. Pate did a fantastic job. Forgot kind of that he was like, he's got to do that well because he's talkative and he's a lawyer.
Yeah.
So that's kind of his gig, but he did a fantastic job. So he actually, you're going to have to send a complaint to his law office because he bit into a big chunk of your time.
I mean, it's Ryan.
This time's valuable.
You don't got to give a whole thing. Just say you bumped him and, both Zyzek and I will never support you again, and we'll start spreading rumors about you. That's simple.
Well, it already happens. It already happens.
Ryan Greenspan's out to destroy Paintball Nerd.
I'm a millionaire. I drive a fancy car. Do want to point out though, I don't pay for gas.
Same.
That's a biggie. That's a biggie.
That is good. That's a financial hack right there. Maybe your electric bill's high. I don't know.
No, it's not. It's actually very low. I save like a couple $1,000 in gas every year. So
let's get back to the beefing. I like that part.
Yeah, sorry. Environment's big to me.
Well, hey, here's the thing about the beef and about Will Ball for Soup. You know, there's obvious questionable methods that he has. But would you consider the three of us on this show, would you consider us leaders in this space of paintball media?
I would say you two probably are. I mean, I've been pretty unactive in 2023 because I had to spend like basically the entire year kind of being with and caring for my father who was dying. So
okay, well, 2 out of 3.
I would say I'm definitely not a leader, but you two for sure.
Okay. We've been talking about him for the past 30 minutes. So something that he's doing is right if he has people talking about him and viewing his stuff. But I will say last night he told me, tell everyone I don't want any more conflict.
All right.
So, all the conflict starts from him. I mean, there's an entire tree of conflicts I'm somehow involved in when I don't
Quinn.
I've never sat down and just talked to this guy.
Picture and imagine for a moment. Okay.
Gotcha.
Young Scotty, 325-pound kid getting bullied every day of his life. Starts lifting weights, starts finding his confidence, starts speaking more, starts to build a little bit more confidence, finds his confidence, and creates this character online that gets attention. That is who we have, right?
That's important.
So he's in this space of kind of finding his confidence and discovering how to deal with that confidence out in the real world. And okay, here I got a bunch of likes, I got a bunch of comments, people are talking about me, this feels good. Here's the negative side of it now. Now I'm experiencing the backlash of this. So he's right in this middle of kind of discovering who he is as a person, as this new person who's not fat anymore.
Sounds like an episode of Star Wars.
It is. I mean, that's exactly.
I mean, I agree. I think the way you look at it is very eloquent and sensible.
Dark.
But the problem is it's how can you do an hour-long episode where you air your dirty laundry about everybody, and then you're like, okay, I'm done now. It's crazy. You know what I'm saying? There was people that got called out by him, and I'm like, this dude's the nicest guy I've ever met, and he gets called a fat fuck, and I'm like, what did this guy do? He's the nicest guy in paintball. You know what I mean?
Well, so I don't know. That's done is so all his other content's kind of recorded and intentional. He comes on for an hour with me, and I'm grilling him, asking him questions, telling him to put people on blast, and he feels external pressure and maybe some internal pressure from Paintball Nerd, and he wants to perform in that space and show everyone he's Will Ball for Soup. And so he lets it fly, and he doesn't have anything written down, and he just kind of speaks what's on his heart, maybe in the back of his mind. And then as soon as I say, thank you, Scotty, and the show's over, he goes, damn, maybe I shouldn't have said that.
Wait, he did
say
that?
That's where he's at.
Oh.
I mean, I have to say as a side comment to that, you had a masterful interview the way you guided that. You should be interviewing politicians and
you do a good job.
Else.
Not a lot of pushback. But a lot of that's the Zyzek look. I don't. It's
no, it's you tilt your head a little more like this.
When it starts to get controversial, you look down to your notes.
I mean, that's important though, right? I mean, you can't be interviewing a guy telling him that,
this is getting heavy. Let me give it a look right now. Here, I got it. I got it right here. Let me put my melon hat on right now. So it goes like this.
Do you practice this when you're at home alone, Ryan? You have kind of everything ready.
Yeah, I got tons of time. I got time. I got lots of time here. Yeah. I'm on borrowed time every time I'm in the garage. I'm allowed to. I'm not allowed to work, but I have to work to pay for stuff. But I'm not allowed to work. and I'm not allowed to be down here, but I got to do it up there. So this is this weird thing. It's like a circle.
We're 3 minutes past Ryan's hard stop.
Yeah.
So
He doesn't
Ryan,
have a hard stop.
tell us about the Dynasty book and the photo that you wanted to use.
Oh yeah, that was an interesting, okay, so I'm glad that you brought this up too. I've had this conversation with Tom, and he said it's definitely something that we need to talk about and discuss. So I have a problem with media in general.
Yeah,
I think that actually, well, here I want to point out, I think all the media guys that we have right now in the league are fucking top notch and they're rad. I think that and everybody has been very good to me. Rye Guy, Verb, Mafia, Sam, like all these guys, Mikey, when I need, like, I don't fucking ever get pictures of myself. And again, I'm trying, maybe that's why I also have weaned myself off of even caring about posting stuff on Instagram or social media, because I just don't have any content. Shout out to Dan Shelley. Also, Dan also gives me a ton of good content as well. And then Sal from BFP. But one of the things that I have a problem with is if there's a picture of me, and this has happened in the past to some other media from other media groups and people that were out there. There's a picture of me or a video of me, and I'm like, hey, this is cool. I like this picture or this video. I don't need to be the first one to post it. I don't give a shit about that. It's like I see it on someone else's social media, and I'm like, hey, can I get this photo? And they're like, yeah. You want to send me over $15? And I'm like, huh? No. Like, what? What? It's a picture of me, right? Like I'd like to use the picture of me. And I'm not like gonna post it on, I'm not gonna put it on a poster and sell the poster for $20 or $50. I'm gonna post it on my social media, right? And I think, and what I'm getting at is, and it's really frustrating, right? Because I've just played World Cup, just won World Cup. I don't have a single photo. There's not a single, I don't have a single photo or video or anything, any piece of content for myself, of myself. And I'm trying to look right now, but it's kind of strange that we don't have, and the NXL's gotten a little bit better about it, but about giving us some of Go Sports' content. But I was kind of toying around the idea for the 2023 season of saying, hey, Tom, you guys, we're going to sign a different contract saying that the league is not allowed, and its media subsidiaries are not allowed to use any photos or pictures or any likeness of Dynasty until or unless we also get access to all those photos and videos. And again, we don't need to have exclusive rights or exclusive access or even first access to it. But as soon as there's a media captured of Dynasty, we should be able to utilize that, because then we've had people in the past sell our likeness to 4 different companies or 3 or 4 different companies across the board. And I'm all for it. And I'm not trying to say that the photographers and videographers shouldn't be getting paid or making a living off this. I'm fucking stoked that they are. And it's great because that means there's more media posted out there. And there was this big media gold rush in which some of the like Verb and Rye Guy, and especially I think we're making like big bucks, 6-figure bucks, which is fucking awesome. And that's epic because they were reaching a whole different sphere of influence again than we were ever reaching. And those guys were also really, really helpful with, like, if I'm like, hey, I want to grab this, I would just kind of, they're like, yeah, use whatever you want, right? You can have it. But it should kind of go without saying that we should be able to use our own likeness that's shot at events or at practices, especially if other people are getting paid for that. I just want to use it.
How does it work in the celebrity world? Like if TMZ snaps a photo of Kim Kardashian, do they got to pay her for that?
They do not have to pay her for that. And I'm not asking them to pay me for it, but I don't know. Is Kim Kardashian allowed to? Now, this is also if it's photographed in a public event. If let's take it up to a different thing. Ryan Reynolds is shooting the new Deadpool movie, and there are photographers on set taking photos. Is he allowed to have access to any of those photos? Now, obviously, the script and the stuff that's going on around in that secret world is not privy. You're not allowed to use a lot of that because you don't want to show what's going to happen, spoilers and whatnot. But if you're out in public and someone wants to take a picture of me at the beach with my daughter, kind of weird. I guess I'm in a public space. But when I'm at the NXL that I'm paying to be there, and people are taking photos and videos of me and of my team and of the branding that we own, okay, all I'm asking for is rights to be able to use that and not have to pay for it. So, for example, we, with Dan Shelley, created this children's book, and it's been highly successful. So thank you everybody who has been a part of this launch of this book. You know, it's not like a cash cow, right? And I explained that to the NXL media group while I was asking them just to use a photo. I was like, hey, there's this photo right here of the four of us. On the back thing, I wrote a little excerpt. I helped Dan kind of with the storyline, a little bit of the verbiage, and kind of like approved some of the photos throughout here and said, hey, this would look more realistic if we did X, Y, and Z. And then I kind of wrote the story about how my life reflected the kid's life here. And it's actually very something that maybe Scotty can read too, because it seems like I think all of us have this exact same journey where we were not quite the, prom king football varsity player who struggled with confidence and kind of figuring out where they fit in. And this is why this story is really important to pretty much everybody. But one of the things I asked for is like, hey, there's this great picture of me, Alex, Yosh, and Oliver. Do you think I can grab that? Like, I just want to put it in the back of the book. Like, I'm not making any money on it. I made it very clear. I'm not
Where
getting
did you
paid.
see the photo?
Well, I have it on my social media, but it was just, I don't know. It was posted last year. It's a cool picture. It's like the four of us.
So actually, if you just screenshot it and used it.
So I was thinking about it, but again, I didn't want someone to send a cease and desist. I didn't want someone to get upset. And this book, we did have to get sign-offs on it. Dan did a really good job in the legal side, paying to make sure that like we could have specific logos and rights in here. And some people, didn't agree to it or didn't give us the information quick enough. So they didn't, they weren't in the book.
Who didn't?
I think it took a while to get, I think JT kind of balked at it. Maybe, I don't really know, because I wasn't really fully involved. I was just on the field one side, but like we had to, have a signature page saying, because again, when you're throwing out trademarks and stuff like that for someone to use likeness and rights and whatnot and not getting paid on it, some people are kind of like, let's not really do that. But again, we felt that this was something that was going to be important for the growth of the sport. So we did all this, pro bono. And I think it's really cool. And the artist did a really good job of cleaning up my my old wrinkle lines. So I'm also, I owe them.
Important.
I don't
know. It's interesting because I get this a lot. Like when I'm at events, someone will be like, "Hey, can I get that video that you just made?" And I'm like, "Well, my answer is yes, you can, but I don't own the footage, right? Mm-hmm. It's on a hard drive somewhere now in the Go Sports trailer. Like that's how quick things happen. It gets filmed. They take a memory card, they dump it, and I'm like, that footage is in the cloud. I don't know where it's at. So, it could be an argument to have, the NXL and Major League Paintball and Go Sports put everything on a hard drive that is accessible by the people that are being photographed.
And that does create another job that someone else has to do. It's also, they do, and they have been, like, the NXL sends us at the end of every day the highlights of the day, which is cool, right? We got the highlight of Arturo snap shooting that guy. And they give us the highlights. I think that's a great step in the right direction. And I know that it would be a lot to get a lot of the content from the guys at the videographers. And again, like I said, I don't have a ton of pushback from the photographers and videographers. The only thing is I have to wait till like Rye Guy or Verb posts a video of me, and then I just have to like copy it, paste it, download the link, and then like I'll use it later. Again, I don't really care if it's old regurgitated stuff. I just need content just so I get more clicks, man. Just need more clicks.
More eyeballs.
How do you feel about the other side of that though, Ryan? So say I'm at an event and I'm in the pits shooting pictures, or not me, just random photographer. And he takes a picture, you just say like, hey man, can I get that? Like, sometimes I think it's a more difficult thing because like, okay, so A, is he there on his own? Is there a company that spent a bunch of money to get him there that, has plans to use that video and photo, whatever, in marketing? And I think it then creates kind of like an area where I maybe disagree with you a little bit. Cause I've kind of ran into this problem in the past before myself. Like I spent a bunch of money to get photographers, videographers, they on the pro field, around the NXL in general. And I basically just pay them so they can get there and get the experience and have fun doing it. I don't really care much outside of that. I use some of the photos and like the awards and things like that. But then I have people all the time that they'll use the photos that I spent a bunch of money to get them produced and they just don't care. and you bring up like, hey man, it's cool. Just maybe say something to me. It's not a big deal though otherwise.
Mhm.
And then these people like want to go to war with you over it at the same time. So I definitely see your perspective. At the same time, I'm kind of like, I can see there's the gray area.
And you and I have actually talked about this and kind of butted heads a little bit on it, because I know that, and look, I get it. And again, I'll bring up Rye Guy. Rye Guy is a great example, right? Because he would work with JT, and he's also given us a ton of content, right? And then he also works with Lone Wolf, and he has a bunch of his hands in a bunch of cookie jars as well, and that's fucking great. And he's always been like, dude, any content or footage you want, let me know, it's yours. But I believe that is after he's cherry picked through it or posted it, and I don't care, right? Again, I don't need to be first to market with the content unless I'm paying for it. And I agree and understand that wholeheartedly. So if there is, and I do understand also, because I'm a part owner in Field One, I do understand like why brands will want to be the first ones to post like a killer clip. And I'm fine. Again, I'm fine with that. I just want to be able to have access to it afterwards. And if there's a bunch of crap that you don't want to use, let me get some of this. Let me just get some table scraps, man. Let me just
get a taste
over. Let me get a little taste, man. So I get it. I appreciate it. Right. And that's why I appreciate Rye Guy and Verb too, is like, they're like, dude, yeah, use whatever you want once I post it. And I'm like, great. That's totally fine. But once you post it and then you're like, I forgot who it was. I don't know. And it happened to Kyle too. And it was like kind of laughable. Kyle found like this killer photo that he really liked. And the guy's like, yeah, shoot me $25. And I was like, dude, it's like, man, it's a picture of me.
A photo of me.
Yeah. I could definitely understand that if I was like, hey, let me get that picture of Kyle, but it's super weird to be like, it's a picture of you.
Of you. Yeah.
So that's kind of odd.
And again, I want to point out, I have no gripe with any of like any of my photo boys. I'm not trying to steal your work or like get first access to it by any means. It's just, again, the scraps when you're done, once it's posted, if we could get even like the month after, or if there's even a dedicated photographer that the NXL hires that could do like every day he shoots 1 or 2 teams and just gives each team enough content, because it's in the NXL's best interest. It's important that this is also one of the things, and I think I'll probably be at the Paintball Summit talking about the importance of a field and team symbiotic relationship. It's important to give us content because we're the ones posting about it. There's so many field owners out there that are reluctant to have tournament players at their park because tournament players are more pain in the ass. They don't like to clean up. They want deals. They play more often. And you know what they also do? They talk way more about paintball. The guy that plays paintball 4 times in a month talks way more about paintball than the one guy that comes once every 6 months. So there is something and there's value to it. So if the NXL is going to hire these photographers that post and do insane work, let's just get them to shoot a bunch of content and fucking put together a Dynasty and a Latin Saints and an Ironman folder with like a handful of shots.
Make a folder.
Just give me a fucking folder.
Make a folder, guys.
Right?
Ryan, I don't know how you're doing on time here. I mean,
I'm pretty. I texted. I don't know. I haven't heard a scream from the kid.
Texted someone. Hadn't heard a scream. Well, so in our few moments we have left here, let's hear from Quinn on why he gets blamed for everything.
Because I don't respond to people ever. Like, I just don't care. I mean, the problem is
he's like this. You get it, and then it just drops off. You're like, all right, well.
I've had like a few things that like I've engaged with over the years. Like it's funny to me because like with Vince especially, I've never had an issue with this guy ever. Like I remember when he started, I would message him just like little tips, whatever, of my own experiences doing this. And this whole thing started because I'm sitting at my home. Mike Mesa's sitting with me because we're getting ready to go to practice the next day to play. And Mesa's getting blown up on social media about he's quitting our team and he's on his way flying to play for Infamous right now and this and this. And then of course me and Mesa are like, well, let's have a little fun with this. Let's message him around, And I started sending pictures, Mesa sends a picture of an Infamous jersey I have sitting in my office that he's getting ready to gear up and everything. And then basically from there, it tunneled in this whole thing where then he was convinced I was out to get him. And it was more so me of a lesson in, hey, don't maybe run stories until you have all the info. You know what I'm saying?
I actually have pay stubs, Quinn, that show that you are out to get Vince.
I don't. That's the crazy thing to say. The pay stub thing, because like I mean, even Scotty was thinking that with like NXL. I 1,000,000% do not work for NXL. The only thing I do for them, and I don't get a check or anything for it, is I write.
No, you wrote a check for them.
Why would I write a check to work for them? Makes no sense.
It was $10 or $15 or $20,000.
It would have been $0 because I have a very stable, normal life in 2 businesses. I don't need to make money for paintball. That's why I've always been.
Let me give him the look, Ryan. Let me give him the look.
Mm-hmm. I've received a handful of checks from the NXL.
I mean, sometimes I just like to say this. Just look at it without a name involved and tell me if it makes sense. Why would party A write a check to party B to do work for party B for no benefit? You know what I'm saying?
Think it happens a lot in paintball.
The only thing I do for NXL is do recaps and previews. And the only reason I do that is because it seems like nobody else wants to do it. So I'm like, someone has to do it. So divisional guys get shout outs. We cover what happened, etc. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think the only time I ever paid
good
Dynasty
I've never had any problem with him.
He writes a check to us.
He kind of snowballed some problem. I know it seemed like Scotty fed into it a little bit because I know they messaged regarding me in some way at some point. Again, at the end of the day, I don't get it. I pretty much just do this because I enjoy it. I waste a bunch of money doing it. I'm okay with that because most of it goes towards paying photographers and videographers to just go shoot and help them with their expenses, or like bringing pros in for clinics where I give all the money to the field at the end, spending a bunch of money for the awards and wasting 200-300 hours on phone calls with anyone and everyone to kind of dial them out. I don't really get it. I just try to keep to myself. So I don't know. Maybe I am an asshole and I just don't know it. I refuse to accept it. You guys can tell me that, but
yes, big one.
I don't know. Yeah. Have I ever had a problem with you, Zyzek? I feel like I've always been fine with you. And I feel like you're, in terms of scope of impact, I feel like you probably have a bigger impact than almost any media person.
Well, one time you told me that I had a nice voice and that triggered me. I was offended. No, Quinn,
I think
I've never had any problem.
Yeah, I mean, I try to be nice to everybody, right? I mean, it's generally like I look at it. If you get, say there's 100 people at an NXL event doing photos, videos, media, 98 of them don't have a problem with anybody, and 2 of them seem to have a problem with somebody.
I think that you're nice to everybody until you're not.
Who,
and
me?
I think that it's the great thing about you is you don't bullshit, and you don't it's not like you don't skate around things to like worry about people's feelings when you just tell the truth. And that right there, I can tell you from experience, is something that people don't like. And therefore it can be misconstrued as being mean. It's like when someone fucks up, you're like, you fucked up. Like, this is the problem. And I think that people have a big problem with that.
I think some of that's an East Coast thing too, right? Because like, I mean, Ryan, we have tons and tons and tons of private conversations with the stuff we do together. And I probably have more than a handful of times where I tell you to, like to fuck yourself or fuck those guys or whatever. And it's really just found out that's just how we talk around here.
Yeah. I mean, and I'm not dropping F-bombs nearly as much. I was actually, when I talked to you on the phone in the car yesterday, while I was driving and it was 77 degrees out or 70 degrees outside, you dropped about 15 F-bombs in the time that it took me 5 minutes. It took me to drive my daughter from my house to her grandmother's house by the beach. And then you also just told me that it's 31 degrees and raining ice. So I get why people on the East Coast are a little more ornery. You know what I mean?
Because the shitty weather.
Yeah.
And Quinn, you got to understand Ryan spells cuss words now. So you can't just, if he's driving, you can't just let it fly because Sloan might be listening.
It's actually funny because yesterday we were talking and I said it. I'm thinking like, man, this is the time he drives his daughter to school. I shouldn't say that again. Yeah. And then I did it 20 more times.
In the back seat, and she was like this. All right, Taylor Swift cusses too, so
ultimately I'll just leave it at that. At the end of all of this conversation, I don't have a problem with anybody. Honestly, if half these guys came to me and said, hey, I want to go to this event, but I don't have the money to do it, I would say, here's a plane ticket, whatever else you need, have a good time. Because I don't really care. I mean, I said to you, I've been watching Scotty shit since 2006 or 2007 when he did it. I've never had a problem with this guy personally, but he has one with me. I don't get it. Whatever. I move on. I don't comment on it. That's why.
Or is it a fabricated fugazi?
Here it is. Clicks, baby.
I mean, again, I don't know if And again, if that's how he does
You got the magic
know,
mask.
that's fine.
Ooh, I got a black one.
Oh, nice.
But otherwise, all I have to say is come to the awards in March.
Yeah, that's gonna be a great one. We got 10
Tell us about
more.
their awards real quick, guys, and then we'll wrap it up.
So I've been doing them for 2 years with Iconic. My goal from the start was to always have somebody bigger take them on. I really was big of just doing the framework and the bones of making them exist. And when Tom approached me about them doing something huge, which is going to be awesome because they're going to have it at a casino resort. There's like a huge 200-foot screen. We're going to have like a whole ceremony where all the winners are going to be there. It's going to happen right after the event's over in Vegas. So everyone's going to be there. It's going to be super cool. And like, I'm now more so stepping back in the terms of like, I'm still kind of helping the structure of everything and like handling the direction of it. But the NXL is really going to be able to take it to a level that I never would have been able to from a time standpoint alone. So there's definitely no conspiracy around that or them buying it or anything. What'd you say?
I knew you were in bed with Tom.
I mean, he literally just said,
Obvious.
"Hey, we want to do the awards. You good with that?" I said, "Sounds great. Let me know how I can help." And that was the end of it. Like, I'm not here to protect anything or get. I mean, you're talking about clicks. Like, we got like 100,000 plus individual votes last year. You know how much traffic that drives to my site, but like, I don't really care because my site doesn't make me money and I don't sell merch. So, if NXL wants the clicks and the notoriety, and they're gonna, I mean, I would never have been able to turn it into an in-person red carpet event. They spent a bunch of money to do that. I'm all for that. And I always will be for that. I'm not going to say fuck the NXL when they're out here doing things that I think are cool and growing the sport. I mean, what's growing the sport more, bitching about the NXL or the NXL putting a ton of money to go to Vegas and have these huge events?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think the award ceremony is really important, like to make people feel like their efforts are being noticed, you know? And I'm just going to put it out there right now, Quinn, that if I don't get an award in 2024, I'm going to take that as a personal attack, and you and I will have beef. And
we have a new award this year. It's
I learned a new word.
It's Best 2023 World Cup Voiceovers of Pros and Players Around the Venue.
So if I don't get that,
by a company whose first name of the company starts with, it has paintball in it.
Yeah.
And the founder of the company's first letter in his name starts with a Z.
And he played for the Ironman.
That looks more like a Spick and Span type stat right there. That's a Spick and Span.
I think Marcelo's going to want that award though, either way. So
that's right. And I'll also I'm going to be a no-show if I don't get my 2022 awards, pal.
Dude, what a fucking mess with that. Put that to end the show on that.
Get an award.
Here's basically the background of this. I have a guy that over the last decade of my life,
he didn't give it away.
But over like the last decade of my life, I've literally gotten thousands and thousands and thousands of trophies, medals, etc. from this guy between my companies doing awards for that, all this other shit. Pulls me on and on and on for like months. Like, hey, I'm working on them. They're almost done, whatever. I had a lot of stuff going on with my dad. So obviously part of it's my fault because I was kind of lazy about it. And then it comes around to like June and he's like, hey man, I'm just not gonna be able to get those done. I'm like, what the fuck? Why didn't you tell me that 3 months ago? I would have just went somewhere else and got them done. And then it just got to the point I'm like, this is a headache. Is it too late to send them? Whatever. So I definitely need to make sure they get to everybody. That's on me and me only. And I'll take the blame on that, Ryan.
Beef. There's beef.
Dude.
Hey, gentlemen, I'm really thankful for your guys' time and coming on Paintball Nerd. Is there anything that you'd like to part with for the paintball community?
Support Zyzek and what he does because I think he does it better than me and almost anybody else, and he brings cool ideas to life.
Almost
anyone else. Tell me who do I have to beat?
Well, you always have to say almost. If you give someone like the undisputed crown, then you create the snare where you have people message you say, what the fuck? Like, what about my stuff? And I'm like, calm down, man.
Dude, you got an Iconic award.
You have the crown,
Summit
dude.
Award.
You do it almost as well as the Spick and Span Show.
What?
Spick and Span Show's bullshit. Guys just drink, give away shit.
The only way we can keep people on is they have to their like, eyes are bleeding. Their eyes and their ears are bleeding. And they're like, dude, when will this stop? Please hope I win. And then they don't win. They're like, God damn it.
I'll say this, Ryan's show.
Or they're told they're going to come on the show and they never get called.
Ryan's show is great because it's like when you're at the event and you lost and you're just drinking, getting drunk with your teammates. It's that experience packaged
It's
into
exactly
a show once a week.
And Alex is
that.
the one who drinks all the time.
Dude, I've seen you past couple
Alex is the
shows with alcohol in your hand.
I did
Got
that.
the Macallan 12. You had that IPA last night. I saw.
Yeah. We've got the Macallan here. That's gonna be a good one. So
that is good. Hey, thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you
For sure, Zyzek. Thanks for having me on.
Appreciate it.